we have these Wellbee gatherings once a month where we feature our Wellbee practitioners, our Wellbee experts and professionals, and we give them an opportunity to shine their light. We give them the opportunity to speak about what they do, their practice, their story, their journey on why they do what they do. Because in alternative medicine, if you know a practitioner or professional, you would know that before they chose the path that they're on and the service that they do every day, their journey has been hard. They themselves have experienced something that has caused some difficulty, some obstacle, and they have questioned a path and just happened to come across something that changed their world. And because it did that, they want to change someone else's world too by offering their own expertise, their own service. And so these gatherings give them a chance to speak their story. And so you can get to know them as a person with a story, as well as a person who navigated a lot of the similar difficulties that you have. So please welcome Dr. Shiva Rouhani and Andrea Deal onto Wellbe stage today for the Zoom gathering. I don't want to say too much. I want them to speak about themselves. But if you received information, you'll know that Dr. Shiva is also the creator of DynAlign, and she is MD, so she's a doctor. She comes with a lot of years of experience. I will let her speak. And Andrea is the Director of Admissions and a classical homeopath from the Canadian College of Homeopathic Medicine. So, Andrea, would you like to get started? And then you can also introduce Shiva and how you know Dr. Shiva and the relationship you two have.
Sure, I'd love to. Thank you so much, Karina. As you know, I am just so impressed with what you have done building Wellbee. It just blows me away that you've built that entire platform from the ground up on your own. So inspiring. And thank you so much for inviting us to join all of you today. As Karina said, my name is Andrea Deal, and I am a graduate of the Canadian College of Homeopathic Medicine back in 2001. And it was in class in 2000, and actually it would have been 1998 when I started homeopathy school and met my dear friend Shiva in class. And we had an amazing educational experience together. And we have stayed in touch, sometimes, for periods of time more than others, but we've stayed in touch all of this time. And so when Karina mentioned that, she was looking for people to assist her with the meeting coming up, I thought Shiva would be a wonderful choice to feature because she does have just such a wealth of experience, and I'll let her tell you all about that. But also she's developed this really clever system, which I think is both really handy and effective, and yet super simple. And I think that's really important these days. I think a lot of people are overwhelmed and looking for answers. And I really feel like, it's really just a way of thinking that you can do in a matter of moments that can help you in a multitude of ways just to center yourself. And I also especially think it can be a handy thing for those of us who are healthcare practitioners to look at and consider recommending for clients who are feeling stuck. I imagine that a lot of you, like me, not only when you're seeing clients are you trying to offer help, and maybe suggesting, in my case, like a remedy or herbs. I'm a clinical herbalist as well, but I really love to suggest some things that people can do in between appointments. So it's not just the medicine that's sort of focusing them in on the work that we're doing together, but some changes in their lifestyle that can really help to anchor the work that we're doing. And I feel like DynAlign can really help with that. So without further ado, I'm delighted to greet Shiva Rouhani and let her introduce herself and tell us a little bit more about DynAlign.
Thank you, Andrea. Thank you, Karina, and thank you for everyone for being here this evening. Well, it's evening where I am. I don't know what time it is where you're at. So I'll tell you a little bit how I got started in this process. So I'm a scientist. I like to, explore things, and I'm a pattern recognizer. So I started out, as Andrea said, we met in 1998 when we did homeopathic medicine. And I went to medical school soon after that. And medical school was really helpful because, again, like it just kind of gave another layer to what I'd been studying. And after I started doing private practice, I noticed that I was really liking blending different things. So I liked to do, I still do homeopathy, like, I have my arnica and my calendula and, the first aid things. But I also really respect a lot of what medicine has to teach us. So I liked putting everything together. And so even with everything that I was doing, and I felt like I was one of the few ones who was integrating both Eastern and Western medicine, there were still people who weren't getting better. And so I kept looking at things over and over again, and I couldn't understand why people were coming in, working so hard, putting in effort, putting in effort, putting in effort. But either whatever they were doing was holding for a short period of time, or it just really wouldn't stick. I started doing psychotherapy like right away, actually. Even in residency, I was doing a lot of mental health work. But it wasn't until I started to see that there were certain patterns in how people were presenting. And I would see that again, sometimes what I did in the room worked. I mean, thankfully, most of the time it worked, but not every time. And I couldn't understand why. If it's the same person, if it's the same techniques, if it's the same me that's interpreting and implementing, I couldn't understand why people weren't getting better. And so these different patterns started to show up. And I would notice that I would have the same kind of language with people. So, for example, people would come in and they would be lost. I'd be like, "Oh, we used lost again. Isn't that interesting?" And the person could like, reflect and really connect to that word. Or, "Oh, I'm scattered." So there's like certain words that I use in the system that have really come from private practice, right? From clinical practice. That these are things that happened over and over and over again. And so then initially I was the one that was just tracking these different patterns, but I work with really smart people. And it didn't take long before they started to use the same words. And a lot of the people that I was working with were also working with other clinicians. And some of those clinicians I also knew. So then, before long, we were like saying, well, you know what? The next time you go see your homeopath or your therapist or your naturopath, ask them to really focus on this, right? And so we would start to triangulate, like get the team in. So it wasn't just the person, it wasn't just me. We were starting to build a team for this individual. And I noticed that those people got better faster, a lot faster. So if it was just me and what somebody who was working, they would get better, but it might take like 6 months or a year. Like it took a while, right? But then as soon as I had somebody else that was also synergistically working, together, they got better like within weeks. And then we would have like at that point, I was still seeing like adolescents and teenagers. And so then their parents would come in as well. And we would see over and over again, no matter what the situation was, we were seeing faster results. So then I thought, man, there must be something to this. So I started to be more deliberate in how I would talk to my patients about this. And again, the more clear I became, the better they got faster. So then I started to do group work. I'm like, okay, I have to reach more people with this, right? Like this is really powerful. And it's such an intuitive system. So let me tell you a little bit about DynAlign, right? So DynAlign stands for, I had initially a very long word for it. So it's the Dynamic Alignment Tracking System. And, my husband, my sister, my friend, my dear friend who's on with us tonight, Marla, they were all like, that's a mouthful. So we had to kind of like shorten it. But the word really stands for the fact that it's a dynamic process. It's not rigid. And what it's designed is that it's designed to actually give you a chance to pause and run a quick scan. So most of us, again, high effort, high effort, high effort going in, but the output or the results that were coming out from that didn't match the effort that was going in. And then when good techniques are being implemented without consistent output, people would immediately say, something's wrong with me. And so I figured out that there's 4 different domains here. And the different words that go with it are lost if you've forgotten why you're doing what you're doing. Scattered if you're busy doing all kinds of things, but you don't actually know what the target is. Heavy if you're trying, but your battery is just low. And stuck when you don't know how to do what you think you want to know or do. You don't know what you think you want, And as I was like working through this, I wrote a foundational paper about this. And for foundational papers, you have to have references. So then I started to look into this and I was like, hey, look at this. There are other individuals who have also identified that we think we know something a little bit better than we do, right? Or we make these assumptions. And so it really became very helpful for me to know that what I had seen in clinical practice wasn't just unique to me. And from the people that I work with who are so intelligent and so intuitive, and they're really connected, they do the scan all the time. They just don't pay attention to it. Because another part of what I see is that life is so busy and we are all just trying to do the best that we can. And when we're sort of busy and doing the best that we can, we tend to go on autopilot. And when we go on autopilot, we sort of drift off course and we don't recognize it. So then we've kind of been drifting for a while and then we come back and it's like, uh-oh, like, all right, let me just work harder, right? And so it's this drift and it's this autopilot and it's the fact that we don't often pause long enough to say, where am I? What am I doing? What tools am I implementing? So the tagline for DynAlign is see where you are, choose where you go next. DynAlign does not tell anyone what to do. It's a series of questions that you ask within seconds to help you figure out, where am I? What am I doing? And why am I doing it? Given my battery, do I know how? And that's DynAlign. That's the simplified version of it. I mean, I could talk about this for hours because I'm so excited about it. But I like the fact that, again, it's very much respectful of every individual's way of handling their own lives. When I was talking to Andrea and Karina earlier, I was sharing how sometimes people share their situation, and internally I'm freezing, going, oh my God, I have no idea what the answer to this is. And I'm starting to like get nervous because I'm supposed to be a doctor and I'm supposed to know. And then I just, they do the scan and then people are like, oh, yeah, I know what I have to do. And I'm thinking, oh, thank God you do, because I don't. So I'm going to stop talking now because I could keep going and for hours on this. Karina, please.
So, Shiva, thank you so much for introducing yourself and your story and your journey to discovering the system. But I do have a couple of questions for you. So, what does a process look like? Like, if I come to you and I come to see you, I know where I'm at, but I actually don't know where I'm going to go next. Like, I have no map in front of me. So, what does this self-discovery process look like for me?
Well, tell me more, Karina, because I want to check that you actually know where you're at. Because what
Ooh.
I've seen is that most people don't, right? I'm
Oh,
sorry, I'm not trying to be
No, we
snotty,
love it.
I
but
love
that's
it.
what I find happens is that people come in and they assume they know where they're at.
Yeah.
And I
Okay.
think that's the actual problem. Because in my experience, if you know where you're at and you're doing your stuff, you're not coming in to see me.
Mhm.
You're not
Okay.
reaching for a solution. So, oh, I skipped over the best part because DynAlign really talks about two things. One is the state of alignment, right? I forgot to talk about alignment. So, alignment is central to this whole thing is that when you are doing things and you are aligned within yourself, then there's decreased internal resistance. You're doing what you need to be doing and you tend to be thriving. Now, I just finished my book, so I wrote over in every chapter pretty much. There's always effort. Just because you're in alignment doesn't mean you get a free ride.
Mhm.
We're here, we're here to learn, we're here to grow, right? It took effort to like grow from childhood to, have teeth cut out, like everything was painful. And so effort is always there. But the problem is that when we don't actually, when we think we know where we're at, and we're using these strategies that we've developed over the course of our lives, if we're in alignment, those actually produce results. It's when we're doing things that worked before and now they're not working that that's the sign that, uh-oh, something's off. What's going on? Let me do a check. Does that make sense, Karina?
It does, but I'm going to push you a little bit further and I'm going to focus in on the word alignment that you just mentioned. We see it everywhere on Wellbee. Every practitioner almost on there talks about it. We talk about it in homeopathy. And by the way, I love your name, DynAlign, because mine is dynamic homeopathy. So I love it. I love it. But yeah, what is alignment and how do we know whether we're aligned?
I love it. I love that question. So the problem is, I know you didn't ask me for the problem, but the problem is that alignment is actually not looked at and it's not, well, like I talk about it as the clean window. Nobody notices when I clean my window. Like we have this one window and it has like, it's one of those French windows that has like all of the little boxes. I don't know if you guys have ever had those things. Those are a nightmare to clean. And after like those have been, I've cleaned those myself, and nobody ever comes in and says, wow, I can tell you spent hours cleaning that. But get a couple of smudges on there and everybody sees it. So this is why I do this work is that most of us don't take the moments to pause and recognize when we are in alignment because we're just busy. We're going on to the next thing. Okay, I finished this. Where's my phone? Okay, what's next? Who have I not responded to? What's on the list? I don't know. Push back some more, Karina. But that's the thing that I find is that again, when you're in alignment, you're just doing. You're doing what you're doing. You're getting the results, and you're moving on to the next part.
I think also, when you're in alignment, the doing feels good. It feels like you're exerting effort, but you're getting more energy as you're doing it because you're excited about it. Like I'm having a moment like that with my garden right now where I'm just like every spare moment I'm thinking about it. I'm taking breaks and watching videos about it. I'm out there, planting. And it's like a huge amount of effort that I'm putting in, and this year in particular, but I just love it so much that I'm excited to think about it all the time, and to get up in the morning for it. Right. And I think when you're doing things that aren't in alignment, even if you think that what you're doing should be in alignment, that's the key. Is that we do a lot of things thinking, oh, well, I'm doing this because I'm going towards this or that goal, that's important to me. And we keep, it feels like we're fighting against a current to get there. But I feel like when you're in alignment, you're just doing it without sort of having to think about it or worry about it, or wonder if what you're doing is going to get you to your end goal, because it just feels like what you're doing is part of the end goal, and it almost doesn't even matter, like the end goal ceases to exist to a certain extent in terms of your concern about it.
Well, I mean, I love that you just said that, Andrea, because again, like I keep missing things to share with you guys. What you're describing is what I call the amplification loop. So when you are in alignment, when what you're doing resonates to your why, and when your why leads to action that's purposeful and meaningful for you, we get into this thing that's called an amplification loop. All right. So this is basically positive feedback. So how I describe it is this pinball machine, right? So I don't know if any of you guys ever played pinball, where the balls have to kind of like go in these different places. And once you're in alignment, right, in the pinball machine, every time you score, the lights are flashing, right? You get all these, points, bing, bing, right? It's loud, it's colorful, and people just zone right in because they're just playing, right? And it's like bouncing back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. That's how I talk about the amplification loop. That when you're doing what you need to be doing, as you mentioned, Andrea, it starts to generate its own level of energy. It's still not free. It still costs you effort. But like this is when you come home after a day, and most people have had this, right? You come home and you're like, man, why am I not tired? I did so much today. Feel really good. Like I feel great, right? And it wasn't that you were off just, I mean, I love lying on the beach doing nothing, but you weren't lying on the beach doing nothing. You were working and you were working hard, but it didn't feel as effortful as you said, Andrea, you're doing something that I think I should. If I start to do things that I think I should, but I haven't really realigned to what am I doing and why am I doing it, then that resistance is there. You're not in that state of positive feedback loop. It's really cool, actually.
I love that we dived into the excitement and the passion of it. But we do have a question from Farhana on the chat, and she asks, how do we learn to stop and think about alignment faster? And I have a similar take on that question. Farhana, interrupt me. But the similar take I have as well to add to that question is, what about the people who are sitting there and being like, I don't know what, like, I just don't know what excites me. Like, here I am, and I'm not in a positive feedback loop. I'm in a job where I'm struggling. How do I get out of that rut, so to speak? Navigate through the fears that I have, whether it's, the fear of if I quit my job tomorrow, I know it doesn't satisfy me, but if I quit it, I'll lose money, I'll lose my home, I don't have the stability or the security, but my calling is something else. So how do we navigate into alignment when we have the practicals of life beating down on us?
Those are such great questions. I love those questions. Okay, let me do yours first, Farhana, because I think that one, it's practice. Like I know that sounds so simple, but it's practice. So the first part that I find in my practice is that this practice, but what I find is that if I don't know to look for the clean window, I'm not going to find it. I'm not going to see it. So it's really like And it's minuscule. It's like these micro moments of stopping to say, hey, that was a good moment. I just did that. I just felt that. That was that zing. That felt really fun, right? And oh, look at that. Because again, we are taught from childhood, right, to kind of sit and be entertained. Like this is sort of like our society right now, right? That like we're not really teaching ourselves or encouraging ourselves to like sit up, ask questions, look, question, ponder, right? So then it can be too easy to just, oh, look at what a crappy job I did. Oh, I just messed up again. Oh, I just like that's where the focus is, right? And it's just training ourselves to be like, hey, that was a good moment. Let me imprint that. And it can only take a second, right? So that's how some of my patients do this. Others are like way more dedicated and structured. So these are the people who like will every morning before they start their day, like they'll get up at 4 or 5 and they'll spend like a good 5 or 6 minutes just kind of doing their scans, doing their meditations, doing their prayers, like whatever they're doing to just look and see, okay, how am I doing, right? Where am I? Where do I want to go, right? Or at night before they go to bed. And it's just training, right? So I don't know if that answers that question or not.
I think
Karina,
I love
yours?
I love what you use the sorry to interject. I just wanted to comment because you put that really nicely, and I love the term imprint. So I just wanted to highlight that just before we move on, um, because I think that that's what's so important. And it's actually the double concept, the imprint and the discipline. And I feel like with both of those things, you can achieve so much in life. And I think this is one of the reasons why I really like this system so much, because it really is just those 4 questions. I mean, you can do much more with it, but the very basic, it's something that you can just and Shiva has a lovely way of talking about it. She'll show you her hand gesture and her the logo for DynAlign, but just the logo. I mean, it sort of reminds me of an alchemical symbol where just looking at the symbol will remind you what it is that you want to do, and you can really just take a moment as you go through the day. From my own experience, like I have a background in transcendental meditation, and I love TM. I don't practice as much as I would like to sometimes. But what I've noticed as I go through life, because I've been doing it for so long, that I'm doing it without thinking. And so when a stressor comes up, I'm already sort of meditating my way through whatever that stressor is before I'm even consciously aware that I'm stressed by something. And I feel like not everyone has the time to get into transcendental meditation to the point where they're doing that on a regular basis subconsciously. But this is simple. This is something that everybody could do. As she was saying, you could do this while you're brushing your teeth before you go to bed at night. And while you're brushing your teeth in the morning, there's 2 times a day. You could easily just implement this way of thinking without doing anything else. And then the more disciplined you are with doing that, the more you can sort of imprint this thoughtfulness into your life, which I think is so important.
Yeah, I like what you mentioned, Andrea, that you could do it when you're brushing your teeth. And the question that struck me the most of all of the 4 questions, which I think I would take every day, is literally given my battery.
Yeah.
Especially those of us who tend to ignore our boundaries or ignore our batteries. I love the phrase, given my battery. Do I know how, or is that what it is? Given my battery, do I know how? Because we have our boundaries. And sometimes I think that even if we're in alignment or in that process of excitement and working, we still don't realize that we're running out of battery, right? Or is that just me?
No, it's
It's
everyone.
not just you.
Okay.
So, Karina, do you mind if I share that? I said I wouldn't, but should I just
Yes,
share the
please,
screen?
please go ahead.
So,
If you're
so
having trouble, um,
let
oh
me
yeah,
show you. Did it pop up?
it did. Well, yeah. I can see
Yes.
it. Everyone else can see it
You guys,
okay? Okay.
wait, did I do the right thing? Hold on.
You did, and then it disappeared.
So let's see. Here we go. The entire screen. There. Is that good?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is the DynAlign logo. This is the whole framework. And I'm going to use this actually, Karina, to go through what you asked, because what you asked is really a great, great question. So this is true north. So this is the why. Down here, can you guys see my mouse as well?
Yeah.
This is purposeful action. This is the what. This is the battery, my inner reserves. And this is external systems. Do I know how? And Andrea loves my hand gestures, so it's my conductor sign. All right. So how you're supposed to do this is each one gets a beat, right? So you start off with north, south, west, east. So it's a 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And what you mentioned, Karina, is that what I call that it is lost, is borrowed true north, or like it's when you're off, right? So you're doing what you need to do because you should. And it's that word should that really makes it different. Because if it's not my passion to work in a factory, and every day what I'm doing is thinking how much I hate this because I'm not doing what I believe in, then you're increasing that resistance, right? But it's about, and this is why DynAlign does not tell you what to do, because for every person, the why is different. If my why is I want to do the best that I can, if my job is scrubbing bathrooms, I'm going to scrub bathrooms the best that I can, not because I want to scrub bathrooms, but because I want to do something that makes me feel as though I did the best that I could, right? So if I can tie whatever I'm doing to that value, right? That purpose, that like it's the reason, it's the value, it's my non-negotiable about myself. If I can hook into that, then what am I doing? I'm cleaning bathrooms, right? For a paycheck. If having that financial security is important to me, then that can be my why, right? But if the paycheck really isn't enough, I need to have something else. So it's really encouraging people to sit, and this is the hardest part, is how do you encourage somebody who has been always just go, 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 just get to the next part, just do the next thing, to pause, to be able to say, hold on, why am I doing this? I've never felt that positive feeling before, and I have those people. You ask them, so what makes you happy? I don't know. What's happiness, right? Because again, if someone has never been taught to question, if someone has never been encouraged to reflect, why are we here, right? What makes me different from Daniel? Actually, my sister's on here. What makes me different from my sister? We're 50% the same genetic material, right? We came from the same environment. Our parents were the same. But she and I have similar values, but we're not the same person. So DynAlign allows you to, again, those questions as you're brushing your teeth. I actually talk about going to the bathroom a lot because I have a lot of people, and I'm one of them, that goes to the bathroom a lot. So every time you go to the bathroom and you're washing your hands after, right? You have to wash your hands for at least, 20 seconds. What am I doing and why am I doing it? Given my battery, do I know how? Right? And that's really the system. And it's finding the moments to connect, to reconnect, to be able to get the supports that you need when you can't do it on your own, because I have those people. I'm making this sound easy, right? It's not, right? I want to give you a simple, easy example of going to the bathroom, right? Everybody has to go to the bathroom. You know why you're going. So let's say you're getting up to go to the bathroom. Along the way, your phone dings and you have to respond to it. And as you're responding to it, you look and you see that there's something on the stove that maybe shouldn't be. So you go to mess with that. And then along the way, something else happens. 10 minutes can go by and then your body is giving you a sign saying, uh-oh, I'm not really comfortable. And it's like, wait a second, what was I doing again? Oh yeah, I was going to the bathroom. Why? Because I know I've got business there, right? So going to the bathroom, as simple as it is, we can get taken off course, right? Like I don't know if anyone else has had that experience. I have, and my patients have, right? So something that simple, you can get lost, not because you decided it wasn't important to pee, but because there were other things that pulled you off track. Okay, so that's the north and south piece. I want to talk about the fact that you have to go to the bathroom, but you're 1 week out of having had a massive fracture. So your leg's in a cast. You can't stand up. So you've got to slowly kind of like go over to the edge of the bed, right? Somehow manage to like get up properly so you don't have sharp shooting pain everywhere. Transfer your weight to a wheelchair. You're starting to go. The bathroom is 2 feet away, but oops, somebody left shoes in the middle of your path. So, Karina, this is the battery that you were talking about. Given my battery, do I know how? I know what I'm doing. I know why am I doing it. But there are now things in the way, right? So how am I now going to have to renegotiate? Or let's go to a bathroom example again. But now you're 4 hours post-surgery and you're lying in a hospital bed and you gotta go and there's nothing near you and you're dinging the little button to get the nurse who's like busy with 10 patients, right? So even simple things that we think are simple, it can become more complicated. So that's just a quick scan, right? The longer scan is for the different things that you're talking about, Karina. I've never felt that positive feedback loop. I don't know what I want. I don't know what I need to do. I don't know how to do it. That's when, again, we go back to the beginning of what I was sharing. That's when we need to have the community supports, the friends, the family, the neighbors, right? The wheelchair, the commode. Okay, I'm going to stop with the bathroom examples.
Like to push you a little bit further, Shiva, and talk about because Mia brought up something on chat. She says the fear of change. What happens with those real symptoms and feelings that we have? The fear of change. We may know it intellectually, or we feel helpless or stuck in that particular situation because there are consequences to our choices. It may not be personally to me, but someone I love may suffer a consequence because of my choices. So, how do we battle that if alignment, excitement is one way, and yet responsibility to another, it goes the opposite direction? So we get either we're afraid or how, just what do you say about that?
So I'm going to actually, I'm going to applaud you for asking that because I don't know if you did that intentionally, Karina, or not, but you used the word. The word you used was stuck. So right off the bat, to me, that's an external systems problem, which is what you then continue to highlight, right? I know what I want. I know what's going to be helpful for me. But if I do the system, right, if I go ahead, then somebody else is going to have an issue with it, right? So I don't know how to proceed. So that's a phenomenal question because again, DynAlign doesn't tell you what to do. It just shows you that, okay, so what I need to do is I need to start getting some help. I need to start talking to people, consulting with people, seeing what's my situation. And actually, I just saw a patient like that today. I've been seeing her for 9 years, and she has been stuck in her situation for 9 years. And I saw her this morning, and oh my God, like she was a completely different person because she finally got an answer. So I don't want to make light of this. This is not, again, this is not like a magic solution, but she has known for 9 years what the problem was. But the situation around her wouldn't allow her to do anything earlier. So she's had to wait. She's had to consult with people, right? Um, and today she couldn't stop smiling. She's making plans. Her life is like all of a sudden falling into place. Certain people are not happy with her decision. And she processed that. But she's like, it's okay. This is now what has to happen, right? So 9 years, that's a long time. Does that answer the question?
It does. And I think, what's important to take out of this is that it's not a one and done, right? It's a process. It's a continual effort that we do to work at this to finally, I guess there also has to be some amount of courage, right? With crossing that line and saying, I'm gonna do this for myself, not for anyone else, not for my children or anybody else, but just for me, because this is the right move for me, and then not carry guilt into that decision or that action, right? That's the big one.
Can I comment on that a little bit? Because I love what you said about courage. And again, what I keep learning every day is that there's no pat answer because I have another woman I'm working with where she knew what she wanted. But what was more, I'm going to cry because what was more important to her was protecting and preserving her family. So her why was not making any changes, right? Which is like so profound because was it a choice I would have made? Right? But for her, that's what was most important. And so, what am I doing and why am I doing it? Because sometimes if I do this, why would I do this? Because you can flip it, right? Why would I not do this? Well, I wouldn't do this because it's going to cause harm to these people. And you know what? I value these people. So what's more important? Like what's the real why here? Is the real why what I want in the moment or what I really value? And again, it's up to every individual to decide that for themselves. The point here is to be really authentic. I love that word and I really don't like using that word because everyone's using that word. But I think it's really important, right? That if you're not living according to your values, and not acting in a way that is aligned with what you think you're here on this planet to do, that's a problem in my books, right? Because that's what I see. Those are the people who come in and they're sad, they're depressed, they feel broken because they're like, why am I here? I'm not doing what I need to be doing.
And I like what you said. I'm going to highlight that word that you said because I think your questions actually, because I keep on rehearsing it in my mind, and it really makes us realize what we value. Um, we can value connection over our own needs. We can value stability over our own needs. We can value because it's not just valuing someone else, our children or our family or whatever, but it's also valuing what we get out of that above all else or above our own needs, right? And then to come to that crossroads and say, well, I'm valuing the connection that I have, say, to this relationship as being more important to my own needs. And it makes us just sit and pause and question, oh my goodness, what am I doing? Right?
Yeah.
Yes.
I feel like the example that you gave earlier about someone, working maybe in a factory or a job that they're not happy with, but feeling like they don't know what they're interested in, they don't know what makes them happy. That might not be like their entire life, might not be the first question that they decide to attempt to use DynAlign with. But I actually think that what just happened here is we sort of uncovered that actually those big questions could be the first thing that you approach DynAlign with, because at the very least you might discover that, yes, well, I'm working my job right now because I need a paycheck, and I'm going to do it for a certain length of time, during which I know I'm going to be supporting my family, but maybe my next first step is something really small, like just figuring out, outside of my working and family responsibility hours, what things do I enjoy doing? And it could really be anything, but just finding like a little, so you can sort of use DynAlign, I feel like, on a macro scale and a micro scale, so that you're using it in little ways and in big ways. But because it's so simple and so easy, um, it's not the sort of thing that you need to develop guilt around, because I feel like that is something that happens so often, right? Like we want to establish habits, we want to get have discipline doing certain things, and then we're hard on ourselves because we do it for one day and then we forget to do it for 2 weeks. Whereas something like this, it's sort of like, you're free to just think about this for a minute, and you can always come back to it later. And if it's 2 weeks later when you come back to it, no big deal. Do you know what I mean? Like it doesn't feel like a loss. And then the more you do it, the easier it becomes. And eventually, it just sort of sinks in and becomes a usual habit that you might establish, again, both for little things, and maybe you'll be able to tackle the big things.
Andrea, I'm smiling because, like, obviously I live and breathe this, right? Like I think about this, I dream about this, I write about this, I work about this. And like my son is a really fun character. Every once in a while, like I get really like I get stuck, I get, scattered, like all the right DynAlign words, right? And I don't recognize it myself. And he's such a funny little character. He comes and says, "So, Mom, did you DynAlize it yet?" And it's so funny because I need him to remind me, right? Did you do your DynAlign scan? And I'm just shocked because I forgot to do it. And then I do it, and then I'm like, oh, there it is. That's the domain, right? And just to go back to what you were saying earlier, Karina, like I've been working way too hard and my battery went down. But more than that, I was just so scattered. I was telling my family I can't think anymore. And I was able to say, okay, I know what the domain this is. This is purposeful action. I'm scattered. I'm doing, but nothing is landing. It didn't mean I knew what to do next, right? It was just enough to say, stop. You got to stop. Like something is off here. And when you know is when you know what to do next. Like it allows, going back to what you were saying about imprinting, Andrea, if we do this often enough, it allows us to reconnect to our inner voice. I don't want to, it sounds a little hokey to say that, but like everyone has like their own gut responses, or they know what their own, I mean, true north, right? It's the North Star, it's your shining direction. But it allows us, when we do the pause, when we do the reflection, to be able to say, hold on, what was it again? And I'm going to say it again. What am I doing? And why am I doing it? Given my battery, do I know how? And I'm so surprised at how often that simple, 2 sentence phrase has a result where you don't know. Oh no, I didn't know. I thought I did, but I don't know. Anyways, I'm so excited about it.
I love it. And I think those, you know, it makes you wonder, why haven't you been asking these questions before this talk today, right? Because it actually seems so simple, but
Yeah.
yet it's so much because it brings so much reflection and awareness. And we're like, wait, and I think what it does over and over again is just causes you to reflect and then an epiphany. Like, oh my goodness, this is what it is, and this is why I'm doing it. No, 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 but I don't want to do that, So
Are you setting me up? Okay, so this you just set me up. Thank you. We didn't plan this in advance. So I'm glad you used that word because the foundation of this for my head, one of the foundational pieces has been Kessler. So I remember reading about Arthur Kessler when I was like in undergrad. And he's the one, he's in like it was he published this paper in like 1964. And he's the one that came up with the aha moment. I don't know how many of you are familiar with him. So he's the guy that said, look, I can say to you 2 + 2 = 4. And you'll be like, yeah, it's 4. But if I ask you the questions in such a way so that you independently are able to recognize 2 and 2, that has so much more value. So that is really at the heart of this. That's why I'm like so careful every time like I work with somebody and they want the way you were trying to trick me this morning earlier today, Karina. So tell us, what does DynAlign say to do? DynAlign does not tell anyone what to do. It asks the questions and it invites you to make the association and the connection and have that epiphany and to have that aha moment yourself.
Shiva, that's amazing. And I have to thank you and I have to thank Andrea for bridging this connection with us, and having you on here today explaining to everyone. I think there is a consensus, and I boldly speak for everyone here that we come out of this gathering with a little bit more awareness and at least with a little bit more tools as to what we need to do moving forward. Like, how do we get that? We may not know what is aligned right now. We may not know, but at least we have those tools to start being a little bit more reflective. And I'd really like to open the floor to anyone who wishes to come forward and speak. You can turn your camera off. We just have a few more minutes left. I don't want to take away anyone else's time, but I'm here to stay longer if anyone else wishes to continue the conversation. If you need to leave for whatever reason, we will upload the recording on YouTube. If you're not on Wellbee Social, get on Wellbee Social. There is no excuse. You can meet us every month at these monthly gatherings. You can upgrade your life, your health. You can always get tools. Every gathering, I think, leaves us with a little bit more information on how we reflect, get healing, and connect with others. So please join. It's a free platform. I'll put the link on the chat if you need to leave. But I'm going to open the floor up. Just tell us how you're here, why you came today. And if you have any questions for myself, Shiva, Andrea, please go ahead and ask. And I'm also going to put and ask Shiva and Andrea to put their links on how you can reach them and connect with them. I'm on Wellbee, so pretty easy to get connected to me. There is a chat interface there. You can just look me up and you can get connected. Um, and then I want to remind everyone that on July, Farhana will be our guest. Farhana, would you like to talk a little bit about what you will be speaking of? She will be our person that is going to give us some more insight. And after Farhana speaks, I'll open the floor to anyone who wants to have a question and ask.
You want me to go against that, like right after that, right? Dr. Shiva, I just have to say that the video and the photos do not do your essence justice. So I am just so grateful that you and Andrea showed up here today. I do want to, I guess I'll do what Karina asked, but I did have a comment about what Dr. Nassim Rouhani had to say. Um, I am a transformation coach. I am a personal trainer, nutrition specialist, behavioral change specialist, Reiki practitioner, quantum healer. I do all the things. So a lot of the things that Shiva was talking about was like, oh my God, I should have had a V8 because this, I guess now it's rolling into what Dr. Nassim had to say. And it was the one big thing that she mentioned in the chat, and that was doing the DynAlign scan, seeing where you're at, being able to recognize that there's nothing wrong with you. I think that we get stuck there. And so the conversation that we're having in the month of July is basically there is a wound when it comes to wellness. I've been doing this for over going into 16 years of personal training, and then even half that doing the energy healing. And the belief that I have is that once we cure the wound of the point of origin as to why we have a wellness problem, meaning why we don't eat right, why we don't work out, why we Netflix and stuff our emotions down and all of those things, I have finally come to the realization that if we fix that wellness wound, that everything falls into place. You don't have to count your macros. You don't have to feel guilty. So I'm going to be exploring that with Karina in July. But I just want to thank you so much. And thank you to Dr. Nassim for making that comment, because I know that when you get here and you're like, I had all these ideas, and then you see the faces and then all of it goes to crap. So thank you, Andrea, as well, for keeping her on track. And I look very forward to getting to know the both of you in the coming weeks and months, and applying this technique. So just so much gratitude. Thank you so much.
So wonderful to connect with you as well, Farhana.
Yeah, does anyone have any questions? Daniel, you have your camera on, so I'm just gonna kind of pick on you here. Do you have any questions or feedback? What brings you here today?
Well, I have a bit of a vested interest because I'm married to Dr. Shiva. So yeah, I've kind of gotten to witness some of this journey, and like I've been trying to implement some of it in my practice as a therapist. So I work, with clients in therapy, and I also do supervision, right? And so I've used it in both of those at times. I think I as someone who's always trying to mix it up and stuff. I think I'm constantly trying to like get different images or ideas and stuff, and play with the words, and Shiva helps me to sort of get aligned with the model a little bit more at times and stuff, because I like to I think a lot of these things as can very much like relate to a lot of other disciplines too. But I think I'm mainly here for encouragement. I think one thing that really stood out for me today, one of the things you were saying, Dr. Shiva, is that about, what was it that because this happened to me just today. I was talking with someone about, okay, so you go into a situation, and she was saying this. I've had this experience myself of like, what am I going to do? Like, you have this person with all these complex issues, and it's like, okay, well, how could I possibly like tackle that, right? And I really like the take that you presented about, like trying to help people to sort of find their own answers, and that fits along with what you're saying with that Kessler aha moment and stuff, right? And I'm a strong believer in that discovery, but it also think relates to this idea of really believing in people's capacity. Anyway, I'm talking too much, but I guess I'm just like really interested in that, this as a process of trying to help people get in touch with their skillfulness, which then like can also relate to nervous system regulation and the ability to try to actually find the answers when we are hopefully less misaligned, more in alignment. So anyway, just yeah, that's it for me.
Okay, how cute is that? I think there's a consensus from everyone that that was really, really cute, wasn't it? To know that you're here, you're supporting your wife, and that is really cool. But I have to say, so do you two kind of like check on each other to make sure that you've answered those questions and you're continually answering them? Like, is it there, is it like a constant check between you two?
I think we don't check, but we're using the words now,
Okay.
right? Like it's like, oh, I'm lost again. Okay. Oh, I'm stuck, which is really nice. It's shorthand, right? Like it's just so convenient. I was telling him last night, I'm so scared.
And
Yeah.
I love this because what this shows our audience and our viewers and people who have attended is that as practitioners, when we're healing, it's almost like we're looked at like we have all the answers or that we don't have the difficulties. And I do this to show everyone that we go through it too. As a homeopath, I'm taking my homeopathic medicine, and we can see Shiva and Daniel having those conversations and probably supporting them in that same line of work. So, just to let you know that we're human too, and we fall sick and we go through trauma. It's the only difference is we have gone through the education and the research, and so we have the tools to help us recover faster. And these talks, or in therapy, or in session, we are bringing the tools to you. And we're doing the same thing. What we do for ourselves is we're saying, okay, these are the tools that we have, and now we're sharing them with you. So,
And as we're practicing, we're learning more and more about what works, and we're learning more and more about ourselves through the process of helping others. And so then we're, introducing those new things that we're learning into what we're doing and then sharing it with others. And it is a beautiful process, but you're absolutely right. Especially when I first started practicing, I remember really feeling that sort of imposter syndrome of, like I don't have all of my crap figured out. How do I expect to help other people sort theirs out? Yeah.
yeah, that's true, right? How many times have we told ourselves, well, if we can't heal ourselves, then we can't heal other people? Does that resonate? Yeah, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, and it's something that we beat ourselves over, that we try to make ourselves perfect, but we don't have to. We just have to follow the tools that we already have. Um, does,
I just wanted to
yeah.
point out, like, because someone mentioned the comment that I had made. So the comment that I made is not mine. This is like central to Dr. Shiva's like book and her thing, where no matter which domain is out of alignment, inevitably most of us come and think that something is wrong with us. So this was something that I hadn't even paid attention to until I learned her DynAlign system. And I'm a pediatrician, so of course I'm like adapting it to my practice as well. But it doesn't matter. So like Karina, earlier you were saying about, all of these situations, and sometimes your battery is only at 2%. You have that broken leg and the dinner still has to get made and all of this and all. Sometimes just recognizing
Yeah.
this is my reality, and these are all external, like there's nothing wrong with me, can be like that's it, that's the end, that's the solution, that nothing else can change right now. These are my circumstances, but there's nothing wrong with me.
Beautifully said, Nassim.
She just edited my book, so she's been very very clear with me. Marla, did you want to say
Marie, sorry to interrupt, but before we kind of everyone has to log off, Marla. Did I say your name okay? Sorry, my eyesight's pretty down today.
Okay, Marla. Yes, people call me Maria because they just look over the F box.
Yeah, I saw the I or the L, and I'm like, wait, hold on. Sorry about that, Marla. But since you had your camera on, did you have any
Sure.
comments? What brings you here today?
Yes, I'm a friend of Dr. Shiva's and a very strong supporter of the DynAlign system. I think it's a wonderful system. And one thing that comes up for me around the system is that um, it's not about like I could present sometimes like I could wake up tired and think that, oh, it's my battery. Like I'm just can't get through this day. It's because maybe I didn't have enough sleep. But then when I ask myself these questions, it's not always what I think is presenting that is the problem or that is out of alignment. And so after asking these really defining questions, I get clear that, you know what, it's not my battery. It's just that I've been doing this thing that other people wanted me to do. It's draining my battery, absolutely. Or I woke up tired and then it's just like, oh, I'm so not invested in this, but somebody else wants me to do it and I promised I would do it. It's not in alignment with who I am. I'm just going to get through this. And it's a relief once I realize that, okay, you know what? I committed to doing this. I'm going to do it. This is not going to be forever. I don't have to say yes again. And that's what actually drained my battery. So maybe I showed up with like, oh, I'm so tired. Why am I so tired? And searching for all that. And then with these questions, getting it really, it's a relief to get that clarity without having to sit through an hour-long session with my therapist.
Yeah.
It becomes clearer and clearer and clearer each time. Like with every time I practice it, I get clearer and clearer about it's not what I thought it was. And then I start to notice patterns that are showing up in my life. Like sometimes I look to external systems a lot. I am just an avid learner. I just like to learn things. Okay, so this worked for somebody else. I'm going to do this. I'm going to try this. If it worked for somebody else or hundreds of thousands of people, it's got to work for me. And a lot of the times it's not the case because what I'm experiencing in my world and what's important to me in my world is going to be different to somebody else. So then there's that added like, okay, I don't have to live up to that expectation that if it worked for somebody else, it's going to work for me as well. There's so many layers to it that I can share and stories that I can share personally since I started using the
Yeah, we've
system.
been doing it for 6 months now, right?
Yeah.
Like intensely with the vocabulary every
Yeah.
week.
Yeah. And it's a language and it's very helpful to have that language, that languaging, and it's clear, it's distinct, and it keeps me on track. So that and sometimes I'll just journal it. I'm not even just saying in my head, I'll write it out. I'm a somatic yoga instructor, so I have to movement. I teach movement educator. I have to move to get it into my body and have that level of understanding so that it processes. Sometimes I just need to then go for a walk or dance it out or whatever it is. But before no before implementing the system, I wasn't really one of those people that wanted a system. I actually had a lot of pushback around it. It's like, oh, you want me to go into a system? Like I have to keep asking myself these questions. And then when I let go of that resistance, I realized, okay, there's a resistance there for a reason. Because I've tried these external systems that I've tried and it's worked for other people, but it's not going to work for me. So I've had this belief that that was running. And then once I let go of that and just use that as my basic guide to how I think about my life and a perspective, it's like, I mean, Shiva was talking about the window. If you don't see a thumbprint on the window or a smudge, you're not going to realize anything's upset. But it's also like it's almost like looking through life through rose-colored glasses or a different lens and trying on that lens. And then, oh, wow, things are actually coming into more of a better focus. I didn't realize I was looking through such a blurry lens before.
I like what you said, Marla, about the resistance. I think a lot of us can resonate with that because to ask these questions means we have to sit with our own truth. And that takes a lot and not, it's like for us to be able to sit down and say, okay, we're okay just sitting with the truth of my battery. What am I doing? Why am I doing it? These are questions that are soul searching. And I want to use a language that Farhana has used often with me, which is sometimes we're a drive-through. Like, I don't know what it is, Farhana, interrupt me, but it's almost like I envision like just sitting outside McDonald's and just keep on driving through because we're not only just go, go, go with our life, we don't stop and think, we don't stop to reflect and leave alone actually sit and ask ourselves, well, what are you doing? what are you doing? Why are you doing this? You know? And I think it really puts us, because we're either go, 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 action, 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 contribute, 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 or we're sitting there
Crash.
receiving we're the receiving end of all the stimulus and noise and chaos around us, that this actually forces us to take that pause that we so often refuse to take the pause, stop and just hear our own voice and hear our truth. And I think it takes quite a bit. And to know that once you go through and you overcome that resistance, then I'm sure things start flowing, right?
Or sometimes you're just stuck though. Sometimes I realize I'm just stuck and it's a relief to just say I'm stuck. Instead of putting up on that face of, no, I'm good. How you doing? Oh, great. Life's great. Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. But realize actually in the background, I don't really like that stuff isn't going that great, but I'm just persevering and I'm just moving through and I'm just pushing through.
Yeah.
So having that relief that I can accept myself where I am and actually like say it or just realize it. Like you had said, Karina, so beautifully, like um it's not always easy to look at ourselves. And I can absolutely relate to that.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because even as you were just saying, Marla, just identifying that you're stuck you can actually turn that into feeling like a reward, right? And so getting back to the pinball analogy with the lights flashing, or I love Karina's new analogy, which I'm envisioning, we're just cycling through the drive-through and forgetting that we could actually like pick up a hot fudge sundae if we want to.
Oh my goodness. Does anyone else want to, chime in either through the chat or audio, or ask any lasting questions for Dr. Shiva or Andrea? Please unmute yourself, or you can even pop it in the chat. Anyone else? If not, then I think I would just for Hannah. Yes, please.
I do want to say something. I want to say that I am so, again, grateful for everyone showing up here today. We are building a community with Wellbee. I don't know if you've noticed the news feeds, the newsletter. There's a lot of changes that have happened over the last, what would you say, Karina, 30 to 45 days?
Yeah.
And we are looking to build community. We're looking, Dr. Shiva, when you talked about that triangulation, it just kind of hit me. It was like, yes, because each corner kind of confirms it, right? Like as an individual that has the capacity to do a lot for people, I always get, well, so-and-so said it and they put it in a different way. And I'm like, I should have had a V8, right? So having the community here, we want to keep building on it. And you don't have to be a doctor or anything else. We all have our own expertise that we come to the table with, but we are looking to promote practitioners. So if you are somebody who is building a business, wants to get started, doesn't know how, that's where Wellbee comes into play. That's where Karina and I and the other ambassadors come into play. So please, please, please reach out to us. Join Wellbee, reach out to us. We are looking to help you build, because as Karina, and we're going to start posting this soon, but I asked her, can you please explain to me what Wellbee is? And you know that Melly is a little bee. Well, what do bees do? They create little hives. And what are they needed for? They're needed for a lot of things, because without bees, we would not flourish, right? Because bees pollinate and all of those things. So this is what we're building. And if you can see the vision that Karina has, and you can see what we're trying to do, then you will jump on board. You will let everybody know, because that is what we need. It is the smartest thing that anyone can do to say, this is not my wheelhouse, but I know this person and I know that person. And that is what we're building. And we are on the very bottom level of this. And we can't do it without more bees. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Farhana. Thank you so much. So well said. Yes, the idea, exactly what Farhana said, is that the idea with Wellbee is to bring all of us practitioners together under one umbrella, whether it's you want to teach, reach out, you want to write, you want to attend our gatherings and speak of the work that you do. You are more than welcome to join the community. We'd love to have you speak and teach what you know, because it's just getting our world a little healthier every day. So I'm really, really glad to those who made it today. I'm really thankful to all of you who attended, your questions, your insight. Farhana, thank you for being Wellbee's backbone and always being so supportive and helping us reach our vision and our dreams. Andrea and Dr. Shiva, thank you again for coming in and helping bridge this connection. This is not a one and done situation. So please, if you want to connect with Dr. Shiva, you can look her up on her website at drshiva@drshiva.ca. She's also on Wellbee, so you can send her a message there. And Andrea, of course, you can reach her through the Canadian College of Homeopathic Medicine at homeopathycanada.com. And you can also connect with Andrea as a practitioner for homeopathic and herbal support. She has her own website at andreadeal.ca. Everything has been posted on the chat. We will also repost it on our newsletter. You will get subscribed on sign up to wellbe.social. So please stay connected, stay blessed, stay healthy, and use your questions. You have tools now, so definitely use your questions. With that, I will sign off unless anyone else has anything else to say. I will go ahead and sign off. Dr. Shiva, do you have anything else to say?
I just wanted to thank you. Thank you so much. This is so lovely. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for coming forward. Thanks, Andrea. Take
Thanks,
care.
everyone.
Take care, everyone.
Have a great night.
Yes, have a beautiful, well, weekend is coming up, so I hope everyone has a lovely weekend. Take care.
Bye.
Oh, and don't forget, July, do we have a date for Hannah for July's Wellbee Gathering?
I believe 18 came to mind, or whatever that.
Was it 18? It's just a month from now because today's the 18th.
It'll be the 16th. My apologies.
Okay,
The
so
16th.
July
16th.
16th. Okay, same time?
Yes, same time.
Okay, same time. So whichever time zone or whichever part of the world
Come
you're
back.
at, come here July 18th. Link will be posted in the newsletter. Take care, everyone.